Hello, hello, good morning. I'm Solomay Tibaboo, if we haven't met yet, host of Behavioral Health Tech. We have another fun, full day of content, and I'm excited to kick that off with our first keynote speaker, Dr. Jenner Balan. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, folks. Everyone can hear me okay? All right, hello everyone, and thank you for coming on this beautiful morning. Thank you, Solomay, and the entire crew here at Behavioral Health Tech, the conference. Today I want to talk about storytelling and rewriting your narrative. Stories have always been a part of our lives, even during caveman times. Humans have always told their stories, making meaning of what's going on in their lives to understand their relationships, as well as within themselves. People would pass information, protect one another, and connect through the extremely powerful tool of telling stories. There's always a hunger. And though the format has changed from talking around campfires in the cave to movies and video games and podcasts, it's always the story and the human element that people are searching for. There's always a need and craving for that. Combine mythological heroes with bright primary colors, and you've got today's multimedia comic book franchise that's been thriving for over a century. Even if it's like an alien or an android that's beeping and booping, right? It's the people that are connecting to the characters in the story, their journey, their relationships, the grief, the ambition, and the love. People always connect to the human experience and the emotion. Carl Jung talks about elementary ideas, including archetypes, of the unconsciousness and the experiences that come from the nervous system and then assimilate in terms of these archetypes. He also talks about the myths and the interrelationships of culture and experience, the unconsciousness, and also that these ancient myths are designed to harmonize the mind and the body. These old stories still live within us. Think about the basic narrative of a young boy that grows up into obedience and then has to individuate into adulthood. But then these challenges that continue as the hero progresses into the next phase of their life, into the winter of their years, and ultimately passes on. These myths and stories help us understand, cope, and accept the way of nature rather than pathologically holding on. Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey, where he examines the emerging patterns of the hero leaving home in search for something, and then returning after a series of trials and tribulations. Almost every single story that you know employs these universalities, from Gilgamesh to Indiana Jones. Right, there are these patterns that dive deep into the unconsciousness that require the death of the hero and the previous self and subsequent rebirth of a renewed, different version of oneself. Think of Persephone, her abduction into the underworld by Hades, and her return, signaling a renewal and growth. These stories also include an artifact that the hero must bring back with them. This may be in the form of a magical chalice, a sword, or wisdom itself. But this triumph and rebirth can only occur after the hero slays the dragon, right? And when this triumph and rebirth can only occur when you specifically think about the dragon itself, either in fantasy stories like Lord of the Rings or the ancient tale of Fafnir. The dragon basically represents greed and ego. Campbell describes dragons as guarding heaps of gold and virgins in their caves. The dragon can't make use of them. He greedily guards them with no true need or even capability of experiencing them. And this hero's journey and the story talks about the psychology of the dragon and the binding of oneself in one's own ego, where you're essentially trapped in a cage of your own doing. Think of how many times that stuckness you have felt in your careers, in your relationships. How many different stories are you in? How many roles do you have? The point, if you will, of therapy and the pursuit of self-actualization and understanding is to open up and break free from that cage and to slay that dragon. so that you can have greater experiences and more meaningful relationships. Rewriting your narrative will allow you to explore your unconsciousness and go down deep through your journey, find the dragon within you, your ego, that's holding you back from things that you fantasize to be able to do. A large component of so much of what is missing today is being able to follow our own happiness. Many people are afraid to do that. Lori Gottlieb says that even productive, happy change is a loss of what's comfortable and the prior narrative. How wild is it that we would rather be in predictable pain than taking the steps into the journey in the unknown forest of our unconsciousness? There are many different tools that people use to make sense of these experiences. The value of one person telling their story. For example, with Jeanette McCurdy's recent best-selling memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, she states that the more painful it was to tell her story, the more important it was for her to tell it. The public's response to the book wasn't merely a voyeuristic peek into her suffering, right? It was a roadmap of healing and resilience for many others as well. This is what's crucial to the human psyche. We always need to be in connection with another. And when you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, once you're secure with things like physical safety, warmth, food, Wi-Fi, the basic needs, right? Then at the top of that need of the pyramid is self-actualization, the purpose and meaning of our lives. And when we have awareness and feel that our lives are adding meaning and contributing to change, the stories have the power to inspire others to tell their stories and their difficulty. Growth that occurs at the individual level has a way to spread to the community. In the back of our minds, we all acknowledge, every single one of us acknowledge, that there are many things that we're losing touch with within our societies, with the demands of Western life, our busy day jobs, right? Even the shortcuts that we take to get food, and with the technology that seemingly makes life a little bit easier. The loss of these fundamental connections leads to a sense of disempowerment and ultimately, hopelessness. Through storytelling, we can achieve empowerment as you understand how certain narratives were downloaded onto you by society, the social norms, including the things that we think we deserve about ourselves, about who we are, and about the world around us. You begin to see how harmful some of these might actually have been. Let's think about some of the things that you might say to yourself, like in the privacy of your own mind. I didn't get that promotion. It's because I'm dumb. That girl didn't like me. It's because I'm basic. Right? You would never talk to somebody that you love and respect like that, let alone a stranger, right? And I obviously understand that editing your own inner dialogue might not seem natural or organic, but believe me, fake it till you make it. The more you have experience of working on self-love, giving yourself encouragement, and exploring, the more it becomes hardwired. Self-help techniques, including meditation, work wonders for this kind of thing. I heard a saying that goes, everybody should meditate 20 minutes a day. And if you absolutely have no time, you should meditate 1 hour a day. When you reach out to like a coach or a therapist, you may have encountered ideas that some types of thinking are wrong, that they need to be fixed. With storytelling, it's about understanding how that thought came about. Locating the first seed that blossomed into a series of these thoughts that are validating the narrative, making it more and more true. Like at any given moment, I have like 17 things on my mind. Like, can you cry underwater? Do animals ever get bored? Lizards. Do lizards lay eggs? Oh. And all the while, Sublime's song, loving is what I got. So remember that. It just keeps on going on repeat in my brain, like all day long. And like a Beowulf and his interactions with his extremely wise father. Let's take the example of my interactions with my son. He's 11 now. And he calls me Baba, which is dad in Turkish. But he often calls me Baba, 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 Baba. Right? And I have a choice. I have a choice. And when he asks me for something 1,000,000 times, and if I don't respond, he could feel rejection, maybe abandoned. He could go so far as feeling unloved, unwanted, or a burden. The way I use my tone and my eye contact saying something like context cues goes a long way. I can yell, context cues, or I could say, hey buddy, context cues. They both take about the same amount of energy from me, but if I get down to his level, I mean, he's almost my height now, and say something like, I see you, I love you, I'm working. That makes a difference. The perceptions we form about ourselves in early childhood, especially if we don't receive enough love from the ones that we need it from, prevent us from being able to take and live up to our full potential. Certain narratives like self-sacrifice or submitting to oppressive social norms get passed from generation to generation. When parents don't come to terms with the sacrifice they've had to make for their own children or go through their own traumas, they pass that on. And there's so many people that are still living with so much of this hurt. Dysfunctional role archetypes also get passed down, like what it means to be a man in society or a woman, right? Our pre-prescribed roles in parenting, at home, at work. Our kids learn from watching us interact and navigate the world. So I remember when my kid was in kindergarten, when I would do pickups, I'd go in, the staff would get him ready, and within a couple seconds we'd be out. When my wife would go, she'd be there for 30 minutes, chatting with the teachers and the other moms. She'd sign us up for 6 bake sales and a readathon, right? And so the roles that people assume shape our behaviors. Maureen Murdoch describes the heroine's journey and dismantles these dualistic cultures. She explores a circular, inclusive perspective as a model for living. At any given moment, we're bombarded with messaging, commercials, viral memes, these TikTok dancers that are doing synchronized dancing, right? Not to mention all the political propaganda on the news. Marketing itself works because it's designed to tap into our primal lizard brains. The addictive nature of video games and social media is designed by scientists that have specifically studied the mind and to explicitly create these addictions. The developers openly admit it, right? Yet the use of social media and consumption of digital detritus is at an all-time high. Basic connections between the visual stimuli and the emotions that they elicit are fully taken advantage of, and the organization delivering the message wins. That's the business model. Now, some clinicians have even malevolently traded their pledge of first do no harm for a lucrative paycheck in manipulating masses, propagandizing, and deceiving. It's now more important than ever that we have the ability to learn the language of our minds and our body. We must learn to appreciate the signals that our bodies are sending and how emotional and thinking ourselves are connecting. As humanity has been increasingly preoccupied over the last 3 years, we have tragically seen an increase in the inability to focus or pay attention to any one thing at a time. We're constantly being told what to do, what to wear, how to act, who to avoid, how to distance yourself, right? The pandemic was a great traumatic equalizer. Relationships have been impacted, exacerbated by isolation, political rifts, medical misinformation, and the erosion of trust in one's highly regarded institutions. As we come out on the other end of the pandemic, matters such as climate crisis, economic unrest, gender inequality, and the multiple wars throughout the world are weighing heavily on our minds. Are there some individuals or cultures or values or people that enabled their resilience and protected them from this whirlwind? The answer is yes. What about those that have been sucked into the vortex and want to learn to rewrite their narrative and get a better grasp on their mind and body? To elicit the answers to these questions, I suggest learning the language of yourself. Healthy editing of your story is to explore, how did I learn to think like this? Curiosity and thoughts will organically change when we understand how we learn these and how these thoughts are debilitating and holding us back. And because of the nature of how our brains have evolved, basically it's created to conserve as much energy as possible. Things like our patterns, our habits, our personality oftentimes go into autopilot. And like many of the tech solutions discussed here at this conference, we have the ability to be programmed, to be changed. But it's going to take energy, and the information that we put into the program is going to yield what comes out. Garbage in, garbage out. Quality information and data in, quality information and transformative change out. There's so many of these popular action movies these days where, like, comparing something like, car crashes and car chases and all sorts of explosions. And when you look at the sort of the male-centric action heroes from the Iliad to today's John Wick, right? You've got the car chasing going into the plane, and the pilot goes on a motorcycle, and they jump off the plane. So cool, like just really cool, absolutely cool. But it's the action alone isn't what creates these memorable impacts. Something as simple as the protagonist walking into the bar, ruffling their hair as they order a drink, and they see the beautiful woman in red by the jukebox and make that glance. In 3 seconds, we connect. Our bodies, our minds wake up, and we connect emotionally as you access your story and the stories of your ancestors. These small details make you connect. And even the way we use technology, the apps that are extremely successful are the ones that have been designed with human mindfulness and human-centeredness to create those human connections. And with social media, people want to connect. The hunger of learning about other people's lives and to be seen in this creative expression is what it makes it so delicious. But think about Gen Z and their meme culture. Think about the way that they express discontent, that they haven't been seen, that they haven't been supported. No matter how sterile or robotic an app is, people, it's within our nature, we always find a way to make it personalized and to connect to the human experience. As James Taylor Gatto once said, you either learn your way towards writing your own script, or you unwittingly become an actor in someone else's script. Think about how you wake up, how you show up to work. What do you do when you come home? How do you use your space? These are all in your control. If you notice patterns in your relationship where you're always pleasing others, right? You have the ability to rewrite your narrative and change those relationship dynamics. You can choose people who you feel energized around, who support your growth. Consider spending time in nature, or as they say on Discord, go touch grass. Right? There's so much that's in our control about how we live our day-to-day lives, and storytelling and rewriting our narrative is about taking that power back. If someone, for example, is from a securely attached childhood and has fulfilling relationships, and that's been taken care of and is loving, they have the capacity to handle adversity. That's a fact. Their sense of self is strong. So if they have a bad breakup, because they don't have this "I'm unworthy of love" internalized message, or "no one loves me because I'm insufficient," or "everyone I love leaves me" messaging, they have the ability to recover and move on. Since children are so egocentric, narratives developed within attachment wounding become internalized. It's difficult for a kid to survive if they think something like, "My parents can't take care of me. My parents are shitty." Instead, it's easier for them to internalize, and from an evolutionary perspective, protective for them to think, "I'm bad. I was difficult." Their sense of self continues to develop around that. They keep repeating their stories, abandoned in their relationships, and seeking out people who will reenact these same dynamics with them. In secure attachment, you can react in real time, right? So with the appropriate reaction that the incident requires. A breakup is still going to be difficult. There's going to be tears, maybe a tub of ice cream, right? But the person will have healthier soothing mechanisms overall. And in their story, they'll have the ability to ask for help. And they won't think it's only about them. It's a painful breakup, but not because they're a horrible person, reinforcing their message. Understand that your past trauma is not a life sentence, that you are not your symptoms. Whether you have anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, our symptoms don't identify us or who we are in the world, that these things can change. Mindfulness allows for a progressive decrease in sensitivity to the stressors and how we react to our triggers. An improved sense of control allows for things like decreased inpatient visits, decreased psychiatric hospitalizations, decreased emergency room visits, decreased need for pharmaceutical use. Training your ability to bring back your attention to your body with mindfulness and label and describe these feelings associated are skills that you can achieve. Use these along with other key elements of your story, like your supporting cast of characters, as well as the themes in your life. I'd like to leave and end with gratitude. In context of this resilience, post-traumatic growth, and autonomy that we've been talking about. Spoiler, Gratitude cannot coexist with self-deprecation. Allow yourself to dream. Whenever you notice that you've got that critical voice telling you something is too much for you, or that you don't deserve grandiose dreams, accept the thought, but let it float away. Don't let anyone edit your story. Remember, there's no reason to dream small. Anyone who's ever accomplished anything dreamt it first. And when that critical voice comes, and it will, tell the voice, it's just a dream, right? And that you can dream as high and as magnificently as you want. We're all in a dream. We're all dreamers. Everything is a dream. And now, I will leave you with the words of the wisest storyteller that I know, Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I hope you will go out and let stories, that is life, happen to you, and that you will work with these stories from your life, not someone else's life. Water them with your blood and tears and your laughter until they bloom, till you yourself burst into bloom. That is the work, the only work. Thank you.